Hello, everyone. Welcome to Spiritual Energy and welcome to this month's webinar. This course is all around the purpose of the Major Arcana cards, which, as most of you know, are the 22 cards that make up the part of the 78 cards that are in the tarot deck. So I'm so glad that you're joining me tonight, and let's just get right into it. So we are going to look at the Major Arcana cards. But before we get started on that, of course, as you know, I always love to start with a telepathy challenge where we can set the intention and just clear our minds and see what comes through. The whole purpose of our journey together is that we help you raise not only your vibration, but help you tap into that intuition. So what better way than to do a telepathy challenge? Then we'll get right into the role of the Major Arcana cards, how we can use them. We're going to go through a couple of different aspects so that you can start to think about how you want to incorporate the Major Arcana cards within your tarot spreads that you do for yourself or for others. Then I want to get right into the actual cards themselves. We're going to look at the Fool's Journey, talk a little bit about what that looks like, how we can use the actual flow of the cards, and give you some insight into how you can interpret them. And then, of course, I did do a meditation before this, and I would like to do pick a card based on the Major Arcana cards for each of you. So, and then, of course, we'll get into question and answers. And if time allows, we will absolutely do our spin a draw for a free tarot reading as well. So let's get started. So as you know, we like to begin this by taking a very deep breath, and we like to clear our minds. Hopefully you are without distraction right now so you can focus on your own personal intuitive development. And what I'm going to do for those that are new, I'm going to pick a number between 1 and 10. And I've already done this ahead of time. So the number is literally right in front of me, and I'm going to show it to you in a second. But the idea here is that you start to think about what that number could be, and then I'm going to show you what it is. And in the chat, I'd like you to just go ahead, and the first number that pops into your head is probably the right one. So here we go. So I'm thinking of a number from 1 to 10. Go ahead, throw it in the chat box, and let me know what you come up with. Okay. All right, we got most people done here. All right, here we go. Number 4. So obviously, you know what? It looks like you, Lori, got this, so good for you. For those who didn't, ask yourselves if you were distracted, or you actually tapped into my energy here right on the screen. We're going to try it one more time, okay? So let's take another big, deep breath. All right, I'm thinking of a number from 1 to 10. Let's see if you can figure out what that is. Go ahead. I'm thinking about the number, so go ahead and put that in the chat. All right, here they come. Okay. All right. Oh, good for you. Okay, Dominique, you got it. Absolutely. There you go. Number 8, lucky number 8. So this is a great practice for you to do with your spouse, your partner, your children. Anytime you have an opportunity to get outside of our ego and tap into our intuitive minds, it helps us build that muscle, because let's face it, intuition, our ability to listen to what's in our heart, does take practice. So just a reminder for you to do that. All right, so now we're ready. Let's get started. So what we want to talk about today is the actual Major Arcana cards, the 22 cards. And the first thing I thought would be very helpful is if I do a comparison for you here. So as you can see, we've got major on one side, we've got minor on the other side. So the first thing we want to let you know, again, Major Arcana cards outline the major events that are happening in your life. Now, we say that loosely, but really what this means is your ability to how you're going to develop your own skills through life. You know, what your personal development is, your soul purpose. The universe has wonderful ways of nudging us towards what we're supposed to do here today. So the major events in your life can be depicted when these Major Arcana cards show up in readings, versus the Minor Arcana cards. These are the ones with all the suits and all the numbers from 1 to 10. Plus, of course, we have the court cards. These are our minor or day-to-day things that happen in everyday life. You know, you're going to be late for work, or there's a new promotion coming. You know, there's all these things that are happening in our lifetime, which we'll talk about, but they are part of the Major Arcana influences or the energies. So the next thing to know, of course, you know this, 22 cards. 56 cards are the minor arcana cards. So of course, the bulk of the cards are the minor. However, they are definitely influenced, or they're caused by the major influences in the energies of those 22 cards. The major cards, you know what, transformation or significant changes, these can impact your perception of the world and yourself. That's the major ones. The minor cards, they're your normal everyday events and emotions that can be caused by those major arcana events. So there's a really a definite difference there between the two things. So the next one is, you know, the overview of what energies the situation ultimately will address, change, or bring into your life. So when we see these major arcana cards, you can get one or two. If you get more than two or three in a reading, it means pay attention. These are very big energies at play that could impact very major decisions that you're going to have to make in your life, and maybe perhaps the direction in your life. Whereas when we look at the minor cards, these just outlines your thoughts, your emotions, and actions that could result in that change, that are perhaps going to lead you to this major change that you need to make in your life. And we're going to give you some specific examples of that in just a minute. So hold on to that thought. So let's just dive right into this. Now I am watching the chat, so if you guys have any questions, don't hesitate to type them in there. I'll definitely be getting to them. When we look at the cards here, these 22 cards, I just want to get my laser here. We're looking at the Fool, and the Fool is the number 0, and we're going all the way through down to the world of number 22. Now, although this is in a sequential format, it doesn't mean it's going to go in that order in your life. I don't know about you, but I've had experiences where I jump all over the place, where I've had tower upon, endings, and then suddenly I'll have years of just incredibly great things happening. So it's going to fluctuate, and you're going to have multiple cycles that you're going to go through in this lifetime, right? So now that we are looking at this and we're talking about, our cycles, there's some things I want to just share with you when it comes to these 22 cards. So the first thing I want you to think about, and as you know, we've talked about before, the tarot is very tightly tied to both numerology and astrology. So we want to consider all those factors when we're looking at readings, and in this particular case, the major arcana cards. The number on the card can have a huge influence, particularly if you start to see that same number in more than one or two cards in your reading. The season of the card. So for instance, we have said that the Fool equals the spring, the Hangman is the fall, Judgment down here can be a summer, and of course the Hermit, where you can see the snow, is the winter time. Now, this is when we've talked about timing before, it may give you some insight into when events are going to happen. The next thing you want to look at with the major arcana cards is the symbols and the colors on these cards. Now, when you just glance at this from far away, you see a lot of yellow, right? And yellow is just such a wonderful, wonderful color. It reminds me of love, and not red or pink. It does remind me of love, the brightness, just that incredible spiritual light that we all want to embrace. And so a lot of these cards, and the way I look at it when I see this yellow, is that it's always for our highest good. So when we think of the Fool, the ability to throw caution to the wind and just take that leap of faith and take that risk and know that our passion is going to drive us, and we feel it in our heart that this is the right choice for us to make, that is when that light within you is going to shine really bright, right? So when we look at these, through all of these cards, ask yourself, how does this card make me feel? Right? And so those colors and the symbols, you're going to see symbols, whether it's birds or it's flowers or it's candles, or it's a balancing thing. Like, you're going to see symbols that are throughout these 22 cards, and you want to pay attention to those. Don't rush through your reading with the major arcana cards. Take your time and look at them. How do they make you feel? What is similar? What colors are resonating in it, right? And really start to think of it that way. And then the next thing is the astrological sign of the card, which I'm going to show you a whole slide on that in just a second. But I'm hoping you're seeing where I'm going, right? Oh, thanks for this question. Yeah, we're asking how often or how many cycles would we go through in a lifetime? And that depends on what you're here to do. We all have different purposes here in life. We've chose to come here to develop different skill sets, to experience different things. Sometimes we have to go through 2, 3, 4. I think I've personally probably gone through 4 or 5 cycles in my lifetime already. Because whether it takes longer for us to learn those lessons or we have to learn new lessons, different things that we need to change and adapt to, it allows us to experience different things within the human experience. Okay, so let's really dive into these cards for just a second here. Now, the cycles of life include a lot of different things. Now, the minor arcana cards, those other 56 cards, can highlight a lot of the specifics and the details of the day-to-day stuff that I'm going to talk about. But the major arcana cards are the ones that are going to amplify these types of things in your life. So for instance, when we think of risk, obviously we think of the Fool, right? Anyone else? Can you think of another card within here that could be for risk? There's a couple here. So there is the Chariot, having to make a decision for sure. I think that's having strength to face a challenge that you have, that involves risk. What about intuition? Intuition, when we talk about our spiritual development, there's a lot of spiritual stuff happening in the major arcana cards. We have, yes, thank you. We have the Magician, we have the High Priestess, the Hierophant to a certain aspect, there is intuition within that. The Hierophant is more about the education and tradition. It is the more of the stoic type environment that we're used to. But the Hermit is also intuitive for sure. And the Moon, right? The Moon really does speak to our intuition. When we talk about learning, that's where the Hierophant would definitely come in. The Hangman also offers us a perspective to learn something new. Happiness and abundance. Look at this. We've got the Sun, of course. We have the Star, which is our hope. We have the Empress, which is totally about abundance. We have, what other card do we have here? We have Strength, which you could consider a very happy card as well. The World, finally accomplishing something, getting to the end or getting to, having an epiphany of something, finishing a whole cycle and going, wow, I did it. I healed, or I accomplished something, I graduated, whatever that may be for you. It's definitely outlines a happiness, a happy time. Roles and people. Now, there are some archetypes in the major arcana cards. We have the Magician, of course, the Fool, High Priestess, the Empress, the Emperor. As you can see, there's a lot of different people in here, but these first 5 or 6 are the main archetypes that we would be referencing. And they all have their own personality traits. So if you're dealing the card and you're asking, who would this person that I'm thinking about be like, or who are they? This would give you the personality types that they may be or resonate with. Destiny. What does destiny have to do with this? Well, the one main card for this is our Wheel of Fortune. We know that when we chose to come to Earth, we are on this wheel, and the wheel's going to keep turning, and it's going to be up, it's going to be down, it's going to be sideways, and all we can do is go for the ride. And the only thing we can control is how we respond to this ride that we are on. Endings, of course, we have the Tower. We have the Death card, which is a transformational end, something that needs to actually shift in order so that it has to end so that something new can be born and rebuilt. We also have Balance. Now, Balance is, of course, our Temperance card. We have to have balance with our Temperance card here. I also consider when we think about balance, there's the Justice card talks about balance a little bit as well, but it's more about this final one here, which is our choices. Every choice we make while we are here on Earth has consequences. So whether that choice brings in the devil, because it's a choice that there's going to be consequences with that. Maybe it's to do with judgment, where we now have to take that opportunity to look back over the things we've done, and judgment is what it is. It's not right or wrong. It is definitely the karmic energy of what you have put out in this world. And then, of course, we also have to look at the Justice card as well. So when you're looking at these are the cards that are going to have to do with the choices that we make. The Lovers card and the Chariot card are also cards that can implement can also indicate choices that we have to make, whether that's through love or just directions and choices that we're going to make going forward in a new direction in our life. So as you can see, there's a lot of different ways that we can actually interpret these. So the next thing that I want to share with you here is this slide right here, which is the Major Arcana in astrology. So not all 22 cards have a sign attached to them, but these ones do. You have the Emperor is Aries, the Hierophant Taurus. You can read the slide. So when you take a look at this, what you might want to do is think of your own personal sign. So I'm Cancer, so I'm going to look at this, and the Chariot is actually my card. So if I get the Chariot in my reading, I'm probably going to pay a little special attention to it, depending on what my question was or what I was asking at that time, and because it could have some influence into that as well. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about how we use these major cards. So if the major card clarifies a minor card, I want you to pay attention, because it means the energy of this minor card is emphasized. So let me give you a situation here. So we have the Six of Swords, and it is clarified by the Tower. So the Six of Swords, going into smoother water, where we've thought a lot about this. Remember, swords are all about our thoughts. We've thought a lot about this. We're moving into a new direction, but we're taking these thoughts with us. Hopefully they're not all negative thoughts. And the Tower says, the Tower could have caused us to have to move in this new direction. It wasn't something we were expecting. It's something that happened, and it was instrumental for us to go through this change. So as you can see, when we see it like this Tower really dictated what was going to happen. It dictated the energy that forced us to go into this new direction and, really think about where we had to go. And it is getting better. This is the picture that shows, or this little reading here shows that, the situation is going to get better because we're going to move into a nice, fresh direction. But what happens if we switch it around? If a minor card clarifies a major card, it can show how the major card will play out in your day-to-day energies. For instance, now we've drawn the Tower card, which says something's got to shift. Something's going to change that you're not expecting. And depending on the surrounding cards, you'll have a little more insight into what that is. The clarifying card says, don't worry. It means that when this change happens, you're going to be able to move into a smoother direction. You're going to have some calm waters ahead of you. So it's not all going to be bad. Okay. So this is the reaction that's going to happen from this main card. So I hope that you can see, whether you're clarifying it with one, it's where that major card shows up that you want to definitely incorporate it into the definition or the actual impact of that minor card, wherever that may be. Okay. So here's what I want you to do, and I'm not going through all 22 cards, but I wanted to give you an idea of what you could do. Every single one of you have a tarot deck, you've got a little book, and if you don't, go online, because there's 50 million websites that will talk about the different definitions of these cards. So here's what I did. I took the card and I said, here's my Fool. The leap of faith, there's no ego or pride here. He's in harmony with the world and he's following his heart. Look at all this wonderful sunshine and this bright light. Like, he is just living his best life, right? He's got his little dog here that's keeping him safe, barking if he gets too close to the edge, not taking very much with him, very much a minimalist, doesn't need a lot because he's just living on his dreams. Then we've got the Magician here, beginnings, potential, choices. All the tools to make the decision that he doesn't need anything. He has all the tools there. He has the wand, the cups, the sword, he's got the fire, he has it all. And if you believe it, you can achieve it. And if you see the candle he has here, so above, he's pointing down, it will be below. I can manifest from above and I can bring it down to me. So understanding what these meanings are in your own way, your own intuitive guideline is going to help you with this. And then finally, here's your last example, the High Priestess. It's a number 2 card, duality, intuition, harmony, and union. Learn and reflect, sit quietly with patience. So this is all about meditation, this is, and sometimes it helps if you choose one or two words to go with each card, right? I always think new beginnings or risk for the fool. I always think magician, just its word, I can make anything happen. And high priestess is always about intuition or meditation. It is all about going within to find the answers. Okay, so let's get into our 3-card reading here. So pick card 1, 2, or 3 for yourself. I want you to think about it, and then I will give you what that card means for you. So if you've chosen card number 1, it is the moon. Fear may be holding you back and creating uncertainty. Ask yourself what you're afraid of. Imagine a positive outcome to whatever situation you have in your life. Tap into your intuition and allow your brave self to be seen. Trust your intuition as you move forward. For a few of you, there are things that still are hidden that will need to be known before you can make an important decision. So the moon can be confusion, having to make decisions. You need clarity still. So be patient as you wait for that clarity. If you chose card number 2, this is an authority or father figure, and it's a reminder for you to get organized, put your analytical brain to work. If you're in a relationship, you may need to lighten up a little bit and not be so serious, have some fun. If you're trying to find the willpower to stick to a new routine or create new habits, this is your card to say, stay the course. It is right for you. And to create small, consistent habits that will help you succeed. Don't try to do everything all at once. And finally, if you picked the Chariot, now's the time to act. Stay focused and disciplined. Travel may be in your cards, and an important decision may be in your cards as well. Don't be afraid to be bold. Charge straight ahead in whatever direction that you're going. Follow your heart, though, and have faith that you're going to overcome whatever obstacles get in the way on this journey that you're going on. Okay, so that's it for today. Stay tuned. I will do offline. I will go ahead and do the draw for the free reading. And just as a reminder, please subscribe to my blog. You can follow me on Facebook. I do have a site there, all under spiritual energy. And feel free to go to my site. There is a survey after this, so I really appreciate any insight you can give me and feedback because I'd love to continue our conversation. So thank you so much, everyone, and have a fabulous day.